Hi everyone, it's Will again, and another leak list just dropped yesterday from the same source as the last one, being the Chinese leaker. This list was also put out through the data mining Discord like the last one, and it's mostly just an updated list. All of the vehicles from the first list are on here, so I won't go too into detail with them, since I did cover them already, but I will mention them again. There are some pretty interesting things on this list, including what looks like a Swiss subtree for Germany, which will be a pretty nice addition. I would guess this is probably the last leak list we will get for this update, so this video should cover most everything outside of a few surprises. Here's the whole list for those of you that are interested, and it did get posted in my Discord as well if you would like a better quality version. There's also a list of changes to current vehicles down at the bottom that I'll get towards at the end of the video. The first three vehicles are for the US, and they were in the original leak list, being the A10C, the T1E1 90mm, and the USS Tennessee. The first dev blog came out yesterday showing off the T1E1 90mm, which is partial confirmation of this list being true, but we already knew that seeing as though this list is already pretty reliable. Next on this list we have Germany, who will be getting the Swiss subtree, though there are only 3 Swiss vehicles on this list so far, but Germany will still be seeing a lot of love this update. The first Swiss vehicle is the F5E Tiger II, so it can get Mavericks like the other F5Es, and most likely AIM-9Ps like the Taiwanese F5E. This will be a nice addition to Germany and will also open up the door to a lot of new vehicles that Germany would not have been able to get before. The next Swiss plane is the P-16, which is a Swiss prototype attack aircraft. I would guess this plane will be around 8.7 to 9.3 for its BR, and it has a max speed of 1,118 km per hour at sea level. It gets 4 hard points for 2 on each wing, so it can carry dumb bombs and rockets, and it has an internal retractable Matra rocket pod with 44 SNEB rockets under the fuselage, similar to the F-8U-2 in-game. It also gets either 2 30mm Hispano cannons or 2 30 Ehrlichen KCA cannons. This will at least be a unique vehicle that isn't in-game yet and will only be for Germany, which is nice. Now, this next vehicle is one that will probably make a lot of people upset, which is the Swiss F-18C for Germany. However, just because Germany is getting the F-18C doesn't mean that the US won't get the Hornet this update as well. But this also wouldn't be the first time another nation got an American plane before the US did. Before I get into the details of the C variant of the Hornet, I do want to mention that this list does say all of these Swiss vehicles may be delayed, which does happen since they may not be ready in time. Personally, I'm hoping it does come with this update, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. This will also be really nice for Germany since they're currently stuck with the F4F ice, which does suck compared to everything else it faces. Meanwhile, the Hornet will be way better. The F-A-18 has a thrust-to-weight ratio of just below 1 to a bit over 1, depending on fuel load and its weapons loadout, but it will be a pretty good dogfighter, though dogfights don't happen much at top tier outside of sim battles. It of course gets the Vulcan as its gun, and can carry various air-to-ground weapons such as the AGM-84 Harpoon, AGM-65 Maverick, AGM-84 HK Slam ER, AGM-88 Harm, as well as JDAMs and other guided weapons. It can carry the AIM-7 Sparrows, AIM-120 AMRAAMs, and AIM-9 Sidewinders. Assuming the Hornet gets its maximum payload of missiles, you will be able to carry up to 10 AMRAAMs, with 8 on double racks under the wings, and 2 under the fuselage, with 2 Sidewinders on its wingtips, for a total of 12 missiles. If we do get this, it will be the largest number of missiles in-game, beating the Su-27's 10 missile count. I'm honestly not sure if they will give it all 10 AMRAAMs, just due to the fact that it will have more AMRAAMs than even the F-15 can carry, but then again, the F-15 is a better platform for launching them, so I could see it just getting a full 10. Especially when German players have had to suffer the 2 months in between updates with the F4F ice, it'll be nice to have something that is a much better platform and with a lot more missiles. I would expect the F-18C to get the AIM-9M, though if one is added for the US, it could get the AIM-9R, which was an experimental missile which was essentially an AIM-9M with a seeker similar to one on a 9X. Ultimately, we really don't know if the US will get one as well unless they show it off, but we also don't know about this Hornet for Germany either since it could be delayed. We'll just have to watch the news and wait for a dev stream. As for a dev stream, I would expect us to get the trailer and the stream in about 2 to 3 weeks. Just based off when the update usually releases around mid-September, It would make sense for the dev server to start either on the 7th or on the 14th. Germany will also be getting the Boxer and the Puma S1 that I talked a bit more about in my last video if you're interested, but essentially the Boxer is similar to the Vilcus, and the Puma S1 is just a Puma with spikes. I also talked about the 9K33 OSA in my last video, as it was going to Russia and to Italy, though I did manage to find out through this list that the reasoning for it going to Italy is that Romania used it. This definitely will be a nice addition to Italy, seeing as though they don't have any self-guided SAMs yet. However, this list also shows that Germany will be getting one as well, since East Germany used them for a bit. I would guess it will go in between the Flak Panzer I and the Flak Rad. It of course has 6 missiles and a maximum range of 12 kilometers, so while not the best, at least Italy will be getting something better, and Germany will have an option that will be much better than the Roland. The Su-24M Fencer D and the KV-1 1942 were also on the original list, but Russia will apparently be getting 2 new SPAs this update, because why not at this point? The other new one in this list also happened to be announced in a dev blog today, which is the ZSU-23-4M2. The main differences on this variant compared to the first Shilka is that it doesn't get a radar, and it gets 4,000 rounds instead of the 2,000 on the other Shilkas. It also doesn't have any missiles like the M4 variant that we already have. Why this is needed, I'm not really sure. I do wish they would have spent their time making more SPAs for other countries that do need it, but what you gonna do? In the last video, I showed that the HMS Queen Elizabeth was coming, as it was on the list, but apparently that was wrong, and the Warspite is actually coming, which is the sister ship of the Queen Elizabeth. The Warspite is armed with 8 15-inch guns with 2 guns each across 4 turrets. It also has 14 6-inch guns, 4 twin 4-inch AA guns, 4 quadruple 50 cal turrets, and 4 turrets with 8 40mm AA guns as well. It also has a similar max speed of 23 knots, so overall it's fairly similar. This list also says that it will be an event vehicle, so I'm not sure for what event. The next in the cycle should be a tank, but they have also screwed around with the cycle a bit already, so there's no real way to know until they announce it. The other vehicle for Britain is the SuperHind from South Africa. This was an upgraded Mi-24 Hind that got a 20mm gun turret in the chin and could use South African weapons. They also changed out a lot of the avionics for more modern ones to help reduce the weight. The main weapon on this will be the ZT-3, which is an anti-tank missile with a range of about 5 kilometers. This missile isn't particularly fast, only traveling 200 meters per second, which is even slower than the Hellfire with way less range. While this will be an interesting helicopter, it doesn't seem like it will be a very good one. The SuperHind is also labeled that it may be delayed, so we'll just have to wait and see. Japan will be getting a few vehicles for this update, with the Amagi I talked about in my first video being one of them. 2 new vehicles on this list are the CTWV ICV and the CTWV RCV. CTWV stands for Common Tactical Wheeled Vehicle, and both of the chassis for these vehicles are essentially the same as the one for the Type 16 that we already have in game. They are both very similar vehicles, having the same main gun being the 30mm Mark 44 Bushmaster II cannon. They can fire various rounds, with their main round being APFSDS. Both of these will be pretty interesting, and it's just nice to have in the Japanese ground tree, and will help make the lineups a bit stronger. There isn't anything for China here that wasn't on the first list. It just shows the J10, the J10A, and the Antelope for the tech tree, and the MBT 2000 and the JH7 as premiums, as well as the JF17 as a squadron vehicle. I covered a bunch of specifics with these in my last leak video as well if you're interested. Of course, Sweden will be getting the KV-1A as a premium, though I'm not totally sure if this is the same as the KV-1 1942 that was mentioned earlier. On the original list, it did say they were both the same, but this is just another thing we will have to wait and see about. The last new vehicle on this list is the Kfir C10 for Israel. This was a Kfir that was made for export and was heavily upgraded over previous variants. It was given the ELM 2032 radar at first, and was later upgraded with the ELM 2052, which was an ASA radar. Depending on the specific block, it can carry up to the Python 5 as well as the Derby ER, which has about double the range of the original Derby. It can also carry GBUs and a targeting pod to guide them. If they do add the Block 60, that would be the first ASA radar in game, which would be an extremely powerful radar. This radar, at least in real life, is capable of ground mapping and imaging like most ASA radars. The Kfir C10 also gets an HMD, so that will be a nice addition, especially if it gets Python 4. From what I can find, it never used Python 3, and I'm not even sure if it can use it, but Gaijin could just give it Python 3 for some reason. If Python 4 is added, that means it will be an extremely strong plane, even though its airframe at top tier isn't the best. This plane would also be a good choice for CAS and ground battles, though I still think that the Brock 2 would be a bit better. These last few things are just various changes to existing vehicles. The first being that both the US and Italian AV-8B Plus will be getting updated pilot models. The F-104C for the US will be getting 2 more AIM-9Bs for a total of 4, and the US and Japanese M41A1 will be getting an updated model. The AH-1Z Viper will be getting the AGM-114K finally, so that now you can get a whole 100 extra millimeters of pen on the Viper. Multiple helicopters will also be gaining the ability to slave their air-to-air missiles to their HMD, including the Tiger UHT, the Ruavalk, both Tiger HADs, and the Tiger HAP. The KA-52 will also be getting an updated model, and the KH-25ML will be getting a G overload buff so Russian mains can spam them from even further off bore sight. The T-64 series, as well as the entire T-80 series, including the Swedish T-80U, will be getting a turning buff. For Japan, the Type 81 will be getting an extra crew member, and for China, the ZTZ-99A will be getting an updated crew model. Last, the Namur will have a nerf since its weight is increasing from 61 tons to 64.4 tons. If you guys did enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already to help the channel out. If you guys do have any video requests, please leave them in the comments as well.